What's up guys, welcome back to another episode of AusHoopers TV. In this episode, I'm going to be giving grades to the new homes for the Aussies in the NBA. There's been a record move for Aussies moving around in the league this offseason. I don't know if that's an actual stat, but there's been about 8 moves including players drafted, so I'm going to break it down and grade each one. Now this isn't to grade the trades or how they got drafted or where they signed. This is kind of to grade on their fit. So I'm not grading the actual trade that happened. I'm going to grade how I think they'll fit in their new team. So how they fit in their new team and how I think it'll impact their career. So sort of like it's just a grade for them, the player. We're going to get straight into it. If you guys are listening on Spotify, make sure you guys follow us. If you guys are watching on YouTube, make sure you drop a like and subscribe. If you don't like my grades, let me know in the comments. Happy to have an argument about it. If you do, make sure you drop a comment as well. We love to see you guys support. We appreciate it. Let's get straight into the video. Now, the first move I'm going to talk about is Josh Giddey joining one of the biggest franchises in the NBA, Chicago Bulls. In the offseason, the Oklahoma City Thunder decided to make the move to move the 6'8", 22-year-old point guard Josh Giddey. The OKC Thunder packaged no one and no picks for Josh Giddey. They traded for him straight up for Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso is a defensive guard / small forward potentially. He played for the Chicago Bulls. He was in the defensive second team last year. He was in the first defensive team the year before that. He's one of the most renowned defenders in the league, and he's one of the biggest role players in the league also. A lot of OKC fans love this trade. A lot of people online thought the OKC swept in this trade. Let me know what you guys think. Now, I do think both teams benefited from the situation. I do think the Bulls moved in the right direction. I do think the Thunder also moved in the right direction with the pieces they put around Shea. I think this is a great move for both teams. Now, the reason I'm in two minds about it is I think people are overreacting. Does Caruso solve all their problems? Maybe. I don't think so. I don't think they're title favorites. I wouldn't put my money on them to win next season. I don't think Caruso solves a whole lot in OKC. I do think he's a great addition, but I don't think he solves their problems. Like I was saying before, Caruso is a great defender. He does shoot well from three. He doesn't shoot a great volume. Do I think he's going to sit in the corner and spot up shoot and spread the floor for OKC? Maybe. I doubt it. I do think he butts heads with Lou Dort. They play a very similar style. Great on-ball defenders. Can shoot the three, but they're not threats from deep to the point where you have to sprint out and get a hand up and chase them off screens. So I do think he's going to butt heads with Lou Dort. Obviously, Lou Dort's a bit more built, a bit more physical. They're not the exact same player, but I do think they have very similar play styles. And I think it might be a little bit of a traffic jam in that shooting guard position, but I do think their depth does work a bit nice. If Dort wants to come off and take a break, Alex Caruso can sub straight in and defend the best of the best, which is in the West. They have a lot of guards. They've got Ja Morant, Luka, Curry, and more. It's going to be a good addition to have Alex Caruso off the bench for OKC. Now, the reason I say this is because a big reason why OKC moved Josh Giddey is because he couldn't defend and was almost unplayable in the playoffs. Sam Presti approached Josh Giddey about a bench role in the future. Josh Giddey didn't like it, to some reports, and requested a trade informally, and Sam Presti made the move. Now, Sam Presti is a very good man at his job. He's made, the Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Harden era happen. He's turned that Paul George into Shai Gilgeous and, 7 or 8 picks to get OKC where they are now. He drafted Chet. Made it all happen. Sam Presti is a great GM. So this move could be a great move. It could be. Obviously, he has made mistakes in the past, but in my opinion, the Chicago Bulls had a great deal here and they took it. Josh Giddey averaged 16, 6, and 8 when he wasn't benched and, missing playing time with an off-court situation. We all know what that was. But Josh Giddey on the Bulls, I think he's going to have the ball in his hands. As we can see the depth chart here, he's going to get a lot of playing time and he's going to go back and be a stat stuffer. With the direction the league is moving in, Josh Giddey is a great pickup. 22 years old, you move in the right direction with Chicago. You trade a guy that's getting older in age, he's going into a contract year. He has $9 million. So Caruso is currently earning 9.8. He is on a contract year. They will have to extend him, but the extension won't be as much as Giddey. So technically, they are saving money, although Caruso, has a bigger contract. He won't earn more than Giddey after Giddey's contract expires in 2026 or 2025, the end of 2025, I think it is. He's got 2 more years of his contract. Caruso will be extended in OKC, to my assumption. They do have a chance of losing him. Don't think it will happen. But in the long run, Giddey is a better player. Short term, OKC want to win soon. Caruso is a better player. As we can see here, Josh Giddey is currently earning $8.3 million. Next year, he'll average $11.1 million. And then he will get a contract extension, which is most definitely going to happen in Chicago. Now, looking at Chicago's depth, they got Chris Duarte from the DeRozan trade. They added a young guy in Jalen Smith, which I like that pickup from the Pacers. Drafted Mattis Buzelis, was meant to go 4th or 5th, fell to 11. Great pickup. He had an awesome summer league. Vucevic and Levine are kind of your older vets that are kind of on the all-star brink. I think they might be moved at the deadline, but good to have that experience with these young core. Kobe White coming off a most improved season last year. Pat Williams and Ayo Dosunmu, Lonzo Ball. These guys are all young pieces. Bit of a guard overload, obviously Giddey, Kobe White, Levine, Dosunmu, Terry, Carter, Ball. They did sign Taylor Horton-Tucker, another good guard. He's on a non-guaranteed contract, it says here. I wonder if he will be on the team at the start of the season. Chris Duarte also plays guard for them. So it is a bit of a stacked guard lineup, but I do think Giddey will start on this team. I think they're moving in the right direction. There is a bit of a jam at that one spot. They did have this problem in OKC with Shea. Kobe White also plays the one, but I do think Kobe White is a better off-ball player than Shea Gilgeous is. So we'll see how that works. I do like this lineup. Lonzo Ball is coming back. We'll see what happens, but he hasn't played in 2.5 years. I like this move by the Bulls. I like the fit for Giddey. And for this reason, I'm going to give this grade a B. Now, you might be wondering, Reece, why a B? That's a little bit low. Obviously, you said you liked it. It's just the team. I mean, the Bulls have kind of been mid. Sorry, Bulls fans. I'm sure you can admit that as well. Levine and Vucevic moving, it might be a big, progress. The draft is always a coin flip. I do think next draft, from what I'm hearing, is a great draft. Guys like Nolan Trayer, VJ Edgecombe, Cooper Flag, obviously. So they could be in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes if they move Levine and Vucevic at the deadline and end up tanking. We'll see what happens. Could be a cool little duo with Giddey and Flag in the future. We'll see what happens. And hopefully Giddey goes off next season. After the Olympic campaign, I'm pretty confident he will. Always been good. The season before this last one, averaged 16, 6, and 8. Did fall to 12, 6, and 4. Rooting for Giddey. I'm going to give this grade a B. The next big trade I'm going to talk about is Dyson Daniels being traded from the New Orleans Pelicans to the Atlanta Hawks for DeJounte Murray. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I love Dyson Daniels on the New Orleans Pelicans. I thought they had a good defensive, lengthy roster. I liked their chances against the OKC Thunder as an 8th seed last year before Zion Williamson went down. I did like Dyson Daniels on this team, but I'm even more excited about his fit on the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the Atlanta Hawks shipped off DeJounte Murray. They sent Larry Nance Jr., EJ Liddell, Dyson Daniels, and 2 first-round picks in the deal to the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the whole DeJounte Murray, Trae Young situation never really worked out in Atlanta, and it was time, if you're being real, to move on from that situation. Atlanta have gone young. They ended up with the first-round pick in the draft. They got Zachary Reece out of the draft. They've still got Jalen Johnson, who's coming off a huge season, averaging 16 and 9. Dyson Daniels is a great addition to this roster. Larry Nance had a good playoffs last year as a backup for the New Orleans Pelicans. Backup for Valanciunas. I thought they played better with Larry Nance on the field. Now, looking at the depth chart, Atlanta have a pretty young roster. I think this works better for Trae Young. Takes 20 field goals away from DeJounte Murray, who in some cases was, in my opinion, shot chucking a little bit. He didn't shoot great from the field. Bogdanovic comes into the starting lineup. Reece, the first pick, great spot for him. Jalen Johnson will get even better. Capella as well. They got a good backup bigs in Nance and Okongwu. That scares me a little bit. DeAndre Hunter is a great player as well. And now you got Dyson Daniels to come off the bench and lead this second unit. I think it's a better spot for Dyson. I think his offensive game has obviously been a bit of a question mark in his first few years in the league. I think this is a great spot for Dyson to enhance his game. I think Kobe Buffkin should sort of move into this 6-man point guard and Dyson slide to the 2. Dyson is one of the best on-ball defenders in the league, in my opinion. At 6'8", he can guard 1 through to almost 5, if not 4. And Garrison Matthews obviously slides down a spot. So I do think this Hawks team can push a play-in spot. I don't want people to forget what the Hawks did with Trae Young. They made the Eastern Conference Finals one year, did lose to the Bucks in 6, but this team can be good. We'll see how Reece pans out, but I do like this spot for Dyson. And for this reason, I'm going to give this move, I was tossing up, I'm going to give it an A. I'm actually going to give it an A. I like this spot for Dyson Daniels. I think he enters a easier conference. I think he has a good mentor in Trae Young. It'll be the best guard he's played with in his career. We'll see what happens. I like this team. I like Atlanta as underdogs as well. So we'll see what happens. No more DeJounte taking the ball off Trae. He's got wing shooters around him. Young team. I like it. Dyson's getting an A. Now, the next trade I'm going to talk about is Josh Green making the first move of his career. He was traded from the Dallas Mavericks to the Charlotte Hornets. This was a part of the Klay Thompson trade. He was traded with Reggie Jackson and 2 second-round picks in a 6-team trade. Josh Green joins LaMelo Ball, Brendan Miller, and Miles Bridges out there on a struggling Charlotte team. Now, this is a fresh start for Josh Green. He gets more opportunity on a worse team in the East to kind of shine and start next to LaMelo Ball, in my opinion. We'll see what happens. Maybe they bring him off the bench. But I like this move for Josh. I think it's better. Obviously, it's tough from going from an NBA Finals team in the Dallas Mavericks to the bottom of the East in the Charlotte Hornets. But we'll see if he stays here long term. Looking at the depth chart right now, obviously they've got Josh Green as a backup 3. This team has a few good pieces. Trey Mann was good from last year. Nick Smith's a good young player as well. They just drafted Tijon Salon with the 6th pick, which was a bit of a reach for them, but they've gone risky. Mark Williams is a good young player. LaMelo, Brendan Miller, Miles Bridges, good young players, good young core. Josh Green's also a good young player as well. We'll see what happens. Hopefully gets a lot of reps. I like this move. Not much else to say about it. Obviously, the Mavericks got a lot better adding Klay Thompson. They are title threats now. Adding a shooter like that with Luka and Kyrie is insane. But regarding Josh Green, I'm going to give this as B-, C+. I'll lean towards the B- because I still think he's going to get a lot of minutes. I think he's going to get a lot of playing time. They could honestly slide Brendan Miller to the 2-3. Maybe Josh Green plays the 2-3 and Bridges moves to the 4 potentially. But yeah, Josh Green's going to play a lot. Maybe he doesn't start. Looking at this now, maybe he probably won't start. But yeah, I don't mind this for Josh Green. Not a bad move. The 4th move I'm going to talk about is Joe Ingles has signed a 1-year contract with the Minnesota Timberwolves. He signed with the Timberwolves as a $3.3 million deal. I'm not sure if that is a minimum, but he signed to the probably number 1 contender in the West right now. They've got Anthony Edwards, they've got Cat, they've got Gobert. Joe Ingles will be potentially a crucial piece to this Minnesota team. I like the pickup for them. Now, looking at the depth chart, I do think it's going to be a bit tough for Joe Ingles to get minutes. We didn't see him play a lot on the Orlando Magic, especially in the playoffs. He didn't play. Regular season, he was struggling to get minutes. Maybe he struggles to get minutes here. Terrence Shannon's a good pickup in the draft. He had a good preseason. We'll see what happens. Maybe he does play. One of the best trash talkers in the league. I don't mind this for Joe. I'm going to give it an A-. Was on the Orlando Magic, sort of like a 5th, 6th tier in the East. He joins the Minnesota Timberwolves, who could potentially be favorites in the West next season. We could potentially see Joe Ingles get a ring next year. Who knows? I like this move specifically for Joe. A-. The 5th move, yes, 5. I'm just kind of wondering to myself if anyone actually knows that these guys have moved, and maybe I'm breaking news to some of you guys, but Patty Mills has been signed by the Utah Jazz on a 1-year contract. Now, like Joe Ingles, Patty Mills barely played last season. There's not much to talk about. This will be Patty Mills' 6th NBA team. He's played for Portland, Spurs, Miami, Atlanta, Brooklyn, and now the Utah Jazz. Like I said before, this is a very young team. I doubt they're going to give minutes to their older vets. Maybe Patty Mills sees the court here and there. But like I said, Keontae George and Colin Sexton are going to get a lot of minutes. Clarkson's going to get a lot of minutes. Isaiah Collier, who they just drafted, I assume he's going to get a lot of minutes. This is a young guard-filled team. I don't think Patty plays much. It's good to see he's still in the league. Might not be long before we see him in the NBL though. For this reason, I'm going to give this grade a C. I don't think he's joining a playoff contender team. No real chance of winning in my opinion. I don't think Utah makes the play-in this next season. I think the West is just too packed, too talented. I think this team will miss the playoffs. I don't think this is a spot for Patty to win a championship. So in my opinion, without winning a championship, that's the only reason I'm giving it a C. Now on to the draftees. The 6th player entering a new spot or a new home is Johnny Furphy. He was picked by the Indiana Pacers. Johnny Furphy was the 35th pick in this recent draft. He was picked up by the Indiana Pacers. He's out of Kansas. He is a shooting guard small forward. He's a lengthy 6'9", one of the better shooters in the draft, and he goes to Indiana, a young and improving roster with one of the best passers in the league, Tyrese Halliburton. They've just recently got Siakam. They made a decent push to the Eastern Conference Finals in this recent draft, and I love this pickup for Indiana. Don't know if he'll play much next year or the year after that. Maybe we see him in some time in the G League, but I do think he'll make his way onto this roster eventually. And I like this fit for Johnny Furphy. I was thinking of places where he could fit before the draft. Didn't really consider Indiana, but now that it's been on it for a few months, I've had to let it marinate for a little bit. I think Johnny Furphy is a good fit on the Indiana Pacers, and for that reason, I'm going to give this a B+. We'll see what happens with the Pacers next year. Let me know what you guys think they're going to do next season. Do they go back to the Eastern Conference Finals? Do they exceed those expectations? We'll see what happens. Does Johnny Furphy play? Let me know in the comments below. I'm just not too sure. Now, another draftee I'm going to talk about is Alex Dukas to the OKC Thunder. He did enter his name into the draft. He did go undrafted, but he's a St. Mary's guard, picked up by OKC. He's on one of these purple contracts. I'm going to look real quick what that means. So he's on a 2-way contract, which will probably see him in the G League for the whole season, but joining the number 1 seed in the West, it's a cool accomplishment. Shout out to Alex Dukas for making the NBA on one of the better teams in the league. Hopefully he balls out on the OKC Blue, I think the name is, in the G League. I'm going to give this a B. Great pickup. Hopefully he plays. Maybe he makes the roster. Who knows? We'll see what happens with Alex Ducas. Shout out to Alex Ducas. That's a huge accomplishment. Another signing in the NBA is a two-way contract. Shout out to Jack McVay. He signed with the Houston Rockets. Now, the Houston Rockets are probably set to have the biggest jump in where they were to where they will be next season. They'll be the most improved team, potentially. Houston Rockets have a very stacked roster, and they added a two-way player, Jack McVay. Maybe he doesn't see the time on the court with the Houston Rockets, but he will spend time in the G League, and he fulfilled his NBA dream. Jack McVay's had a huge 12 months. He made the Boomers team. He was doubted not to make it, made it. He hit the biggest shot in NBL history for the Jack Jumpers and won a championship with them. He also won MVP of that series. Jack McVay, great year, and now he's been picked up by the Houston Rockets. So for that reason, I'm going to give this an A, a flat A. I know it's a two-way contract. I know it's a Houston Rockets. He probably won't see the court, but that in itself, the storyline, making the NBA, everything he's done this year, I'm going to give that grade an A. Let me know if I'm wrong there. That's just my opinion. Like I was saying before, this team has a lot of depth. They just drafted Reece Shepherd. They've got Armin Thompson, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, these young guys, high picks. Steven Adams, I think, is set to make a return this year too. A lot of people forgot about him. Alperen Şengün, one of the younger, better players in the league. They've still got Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks there, who they signed as vets to kind of mentor these players. Our guy Jock Landale is still here as a third string big now, which is insane. Cam Whitmore could be a most improved player this year. This team is insane. Like I was saying before, the West is stacked. This team is meant to come 10, 9, 8 in the West, which is crazy. But Jack McVay's on the Houston Rockets. Shout out to Jack McVay. We'll wrap it up there. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys are on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. If you're on Spotify, make sure to follow us, or whatever podcast streaming platform you guys are listening on. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you on the next video. If I got one of these guys wrong, please let me know in the comments. If you guys agree, also let me know. We'll catch you on the next video. Appreciate it.